comedian is an atheist. Almost every single comedian I know is an atheist. And I gotta tell you, from where I'm standing, it looks so fucking cool. Atheism, the cigarette of beliefs. Just leaning on your motorcycle like, you think there's something going on here? Get real!
Let's talk about the God of Pete Holmes. Now, he is right that it is easier when you are a comedian to make fun of all of the silly and ridiculous things about religion. Like, it's just low-hanging fruit. And people who tend to be comedians are analytical people. Like, they want to find the joke in something. That's what their brains are doing all the time. And so if you step into a religion and you're just trying to analyze it for something funny, you will find a lot of material. So what Pete Holmes does is says, I don't believe in the Santa Claus God. That's obviously very easy to make fun of and not real. But I do believe in something like source, or God is the word that we put over mystery to give it shape. He says things like this. And what this move does, and I've seen it done by so many people, and he's quoting other people, obviously, because he's not a theologian or philosopher. What this move does is allow all the good things from God while also trying to escape problem of evil issues, is really what it's trying to do. So you can still appreciate awe and transcendence and ritual and all these things and attribute it to something, but God didn't cause kind of all the problems that are happening in the world. In fact, Pete Holmes goes so far as to say God is like the screen and we are the movie playing on the screen. Like, the movie screen is not responsible for the Schindler's List movie that is playing on the screen. He's used this analogy many times. And where this breaks down for me is that you can't call the screen good. Like, maybe there is a creative force. Maybe there is something like the source of being, or whatever you want to call it, or something about that mystery. But I don't think that we can go so far as to call it good. If you are the screen upon which Schindler's List is being played upon you, then you are either too unaware to be kind of part of the conversation, or you're too weak to be able to do anything about it, in which case you could be called evil. Because if the source of all being creates an empty, cold, dark universe with one planet where suffering and eating each other alive and death and 99% extinction and most things suffering all the time, most things suffering for most of the time, that's what's happening, then source of being is actually source of suffering, source of evil. We as humans, like if my old dog is suffering, I put the dog down, and that is the right thing to do. So if you are source of being, and the majority of what you produce as source, as mystery, as whatever, word you want to put there, is suffering, then the best thing for that thing to do is self-collapse. And it also doesn't answer the question of whether or not we can justify this project. Like, having a God like Pete Holmes's God, that's just kind of this mysterious source of life, source of being. If we had a big red button that would end life on Earth, having source as part of that doesn't answer the question of whether we can justify life on Earth as it is. And so I think what Pete Holmes is doing is he's trying to reclaim the beauty of what we've called God and the mystery of it, and even the spirituality of it, I would say. And some of that, like, I'm obviously okay with. But he's trying to do it in a way that, one, we just don't have any proof of, but two, it still doesn't solve the problem of evil. He's trying to escape it by not having a Santa Claus God, and so it is better by not having like a controlling Santa Claus God, but it still doesn't escape it. So the answer that you'd have to ask Pete Holmes, and I don't know if I'll ever get this opportunity, Rainn Wilson did bring up his name to him though, so that was a cool little moment. The question that you'd have to ask Pete Holmes is that if Source created a world of suffering, then shouldn't the most moral thing to do would be to collapse what Source created? And then, like, what's the purpose of holding on to this God? So for me, I'm gonna keep smoking the cigarette of beliefs that there is no God, and even if there was, I don't think it's a God worthy of worship. I don't think it's a God worthy of adoration. It's either a God too weak to stop what it started, which is strange, or it's a God too immoral to care. And either way, not interested.